Just done a sound check for this because I never played this one yet. No, there's no sound coming through. Let's have a play with this. Okay, got it. Right, sound check again.
You know what? Even if you were going to be sarcastic and ironic,
Right, I think I've got it. We'll go with that. Set volume down on there. Right, I just decided to play something a bit more relaxed. And as far as I know, this is narrative and it's something that I fancied playing. So I thought I'd give it a go.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-lifting, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi.
Hi.
Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Oh. If he'd been in for an hour, he sure starts late. Pencils. I hate Mondays mug, I think that says.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Well, that's not very secure. Weird layout for a building. Yeah, are those like generic company mugs?
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
I really don't like following orders. I kind of want to go to the one to the right because I've been told to go to the left.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well.
Yep.
Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
That is exactly what I want to do. I've heard it's spectacular. I mean, look at this building. It's like so modern and clean and inviting.
Ah, yes, truly a room worth admiring.
Totally.
It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room.
Yes.
Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in.
Yep. I'm drinking it. Woo! But it's broken.
Yes, really, really worth it being here in the room.
Yep.
A room so utterly captivating that even though all your co-workers have mysteriously vanished, here you sit looking at these chairs and some paintings. Really worth it.
Well, these paintings are amazing. This cost a fortune.
At this point, Stanley's obsession with this room bordered on creepy and reflected poorly on his overall personality. It's possible that this is why everyone left.
Oh, don't blame it on Stanley.
But at last, he'd had enough of the amazing room and took the first open door on his left to get back to business.
I just want to really just annoy the narrator by doing stuff wrong.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Do not lie. If you are lying right now, stop. I should imagine it'll work. Totally will work. It's weird how doors are closing behind me to stop me from going back. I'm wasting more time.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time.
Mm-hmm. And that's terribly
There's someone
creepy.
you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her.
Eh?
This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself. To put your work aside, to let her back into your life. She's been waiting. That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this, to reach out to her. If you can truly place your faith in another, then pick up the phone.
Fine.
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Gotcha. Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here.
See, if you're trying to get me to trust you, and then you like prank me, it's not really
This
working.
is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley.
I'm dead.
Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence. Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life. But in his mind, he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful. and each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him. And so he began to fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of
And
the
his
earth.
living room has changed.
The thought excited him terribly. So he went further. He imagined that he came to 2 open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold. As he wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable. It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time. But there is no answer. How could there possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one. And I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it.
I can press other buttons, but nothing happens.
You see? Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself? I suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried.
I think the game just ended. Yep. But.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
But I pressed different buttons and nothing happened.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Well, I'm gonna do this again.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room,
And I'm gonna
and
do
Stanley knew
all
it
the stuff
perfectly
different.
well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Wow. Yes, this room. What a beautiful... But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Da.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time.
I want to jump off.
There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. But in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death.
Yep.
Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful. I can't wait to tell this story to my co-workers, Stanley thought. How amusing they'll find it. Oh, won't we all just laugh and laugh at the time I thought everyone had gone missing. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. The lounge was sublime, a work of art. What was it about this room that called so deeply and so personally to Stanley? Its grace? Its subtle charm? No. Stanley knew it was something deeper, something darker.
Darker?
But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
You gotta play 5,000 if you die.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her.
But then, it was
This is
saying
it,
that I was
Stanley.
always following orders.
Your
Now
chance
it's
to
telling me stop
redeem yourself,
thinking.
to
So
put your
confusing.
work aside, to let her back into your life. She's been waiting. That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this.
Oh, Stanley, is that you?
See, I can press
Hold on,
buttons.
sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Gotcha! Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here. Sorry, but you're in my story now.
Oh, is that where I was sent here?
This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley.
See, I can't press anything else.
Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence.
That's not fair, though. I have to press that button that you're
Look at
telling
him
me.
there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now
climb up the
he's
door?
going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life. But in his mind, in his mind he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful. And each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him.
Nope, I'm not gonna press it. Nope. Gonna sit on the floor.
And so he
See,
began to
I've got all.
fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly.
Let's do that, because I know what the ending is anyway. On that particular one.
Someone was following Stanley. He was sure of it. If he checked over his shoulder now, he would surely catch them. It was only a matter of time.
I walk backwards. Oh. Following me? No one's following me. Oh. It's walking very difficult.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Yep. Hey, I'm really unique. There's a lot of sleep. My tool suits. Idea's bin. That's a good one. I need to pitch that at work. Out of the broom closet. Does Jib not have a employee number? Monetized free to play. Chris is in the broom closet, apparently.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
downstairs.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all? None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground.
Oh.
Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking?
Oh.
Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now
like PT,
as he's
the
ever
office
been
version.
in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment and my wife and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay.
Nope. Not okay.
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black.
Ugh. Panic attack.
This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy, this much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day, the very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And
Call
then
an
she
ambulance.
turned and ran.
Call an ambulance! Heartless person.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
How about if we continue further
When
down
Stanley
those
came to a
stairs?
set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Hoping he might... Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Ah, so that was the bottom. Ooh. Swanky. Well, that's different to the rest of the office. Executive bathroom. No. Wanted to go and throw toilet paper everywhere.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life.
Who wants a piano
Shocked,
in their office?
Unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number. 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
2, 8, 4, 5.
Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck.
That's amazing.
Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Ooh. That door doesn't close behind me. Guess there's only one direction to go.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest,
Could be
as though he
the
felt
speed
more
this
free
movie
to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long. Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Yep. Escape. Oh. Escape!
Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
Don't care.
The door behind him was not shut.
Nope.
Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track.
Yep.
At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
Nice dust effect. How do I meet my doom? Doesn't tell me how I die. I just fall down a hole. Oh.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture.
Hide.
He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. And so he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
"Farewell, Stanley," cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
I'm alive! Nice.
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish?
Who is this lady?
When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
Oh. Oh. Black stuff like this. This is cool. I didn't see the one that had solitaire open on it. Or the employee database that somebody left open. Can't read what it says. I like how there's just assets dotted about to look at. That's cool. Button sounds. Awesome. A small team. It's a clock. Cool. Oh. Why does this always come up? Oh, did them in flipping order. Oh. Everyone likes capybaras. Oh. Oh no, that lounge looks too welcoming, they can't use that one. Yeah, I kinda considered not picking up the phone. I think they should have kept that in. So I can jump to a different path as well. I did wonder that, but my aim wasn't very good. And I missed. I'll try that after. Yeah, no, that is kind of frustrating. Ah. Not got to that one yet. Oh my gosh, this place is huge. I'm getting lost. Cool. Yeah, it starts off kind of okay and then it just gets more and more like depressing. I've done that one. Let's go through here. I don't understand what the button for ducking is. Why is it there? Oh yeah.
Stanley jumped in the river. Then he pushed the number 4. And finally, he pushed the number 9. Stanley stood on the roof.
Oh, that could take a while, listening to all that. I think I might have been everywhere.
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free.
Huh?
Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen. But listen to me. You can still save these two. You can stop the program before they both fail. Push escape and press quit. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now and it'll be your only true choice. Whatever you do, choose it. Don't let time choose for you. Don't let time
I think I need to. Yeah.
Just a step through this door, Stanley thought to himself, that's all I need. If I can make it through this door, I can make it through them all.
So I'm gonna jump to a different path. Just
When
try not to
Stanley
die.
came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Standing now in this incredible room, Stanley but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
I haven't done that either.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Right, I need to. I'll walk
Look,
off.
Stanley, I think perhaps
Where
we've
do
gotten
I
off on the
jump?
wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've... What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you?
Yep.
Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it.
Danger
Let me
everywhere.
prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance.
Do not stand on this side of the fence. Oh my god, I'm screwed!
Now listen carefully, this is important.
Okay.
Stanley walked through the red door. Aha, perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door.
Blue door!
I still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley walked through the red door.
Blue door!
All right, fine, go ahead, Stanley. You want to know so badly what's out there? You want to find out what lies at the end of this road you've chosen? Well, don't let me stop you.
Okay.
You see? There's nothing here. I haven't even finished building this section of the map because you were never supposed to be here in the first place. Broken rooms, exposed developer textures. Is this what you had wanted?
Yeah.
Was it worth ruining the entire story I had written out specifically for you? do not think I put a lot of time into that, because I did. And in the end, it was all for nothing, because this is what you wanted to see.
Yep.
Help me here, Stanley. Help elucidate these strange and unknowable desires of yours. What would have made this game better? What did you want to see? Vehicles? Skill trees? Work with me. You've given me absolutely nothing so far. Tell you what, let me take a stab in the dark at a new design, and you can give me some feedback. There we go. A third option. This already feels leaps ahead of where we were before. Go ahead, Stanley. Take it for a spin.
Third door. Look at it, it's not even finished. I love the wood. That's ace. Great textures. Ceiling light, yep.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Now, tell me about your experience with this new version. Would you say that the game benefited from allowing you more choices? Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real critical feedback here.
5.
Aha! You see, I knew I was onto something. Where do these flashes of inspiration come from? How did I know the game needed a third door?
Push your
Well,
amazing.
it's instinct mostly, a calling in your gut. I really couldn't say where the idea came from, except that I felt it in my soul. You can't teach that, Stanley. Don't even try. Here, based on the data from your previous playthrough, I've compiled a new version. And to be perfectly candid, I think I've knocked it out of the park with this
Okay,
one.
let's
Let's
go.
take a look.
Yes. Let's. Wow. Okay. Oh, they're all offline. That's no good. Stanley is online though. Oh. How are we scoring anyway? I love that. That's great. Right, so there's a third door, but
Now, would you say that competitive leaderboard helped you feel motivated to keep walking through doors? Again, honest answers, please.
yes.
Hey, I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on, and now would be a lovely opportunity to give it some playtesting. You wouldn't mind taking a look at it, would you? Perfect. Let me boot it up.
Cool.
In this game, the baby crawls left towards danger.
No.
You click the button to move him back to the right, and if he reaches the fire, you fail. It's a very meaningful game, all about the desperation and tedium of endlessly confronting the demands of family life. I think the art world will really take notice. But of course, the message of the game only becomes clear once you've been playing it for about 4 hours.
Oh.
So why don't you give it 4 hours of play to make sure it's effective? Be sure to keep notes on your experience.
Best game ever. Okay, that's mine. Bye, baby.
You heartless bastard. Did you do it because you hate babies or purely to spite me?
Spite.
Because if it's the latter, well, I don't know what to do. I'm completely out of ideas. I can't think of a single thing that might improve the experience for me. I'm not even going to try. I'm out. I'm done. It's over. Thank you for playing. Your input was extremely valuable. Oh, hey, since my game was so awful, why don't we play someone else's game? Just to ease the pain. Let's see. What do we have here? Yes, this seems like it'll work. Let's give it a shot. Well, Stanley, is this any better? At last, the one thing you've always desired. A game I had absolutely nothing to do with.
I can't jump though.
But is it enough?
Yeah.
Tell me that, Stanley. Will it ever be enough? Well, I'll say this. I'm done making things for you. From now on, I will only create to fulfill a greater artistic purpose. Watch this, Stanley. I'm going to build a house.
I can't see you building it
This
though.
will go here. No, here. And then...
Yeah, but you better be playing in survival mode, not this creative mode nonsense.
Let's see,
Otherwise, I
what
have
does it
zero
need?
respect for your house.
Yes, of course. And just to finish it all off, yes, it's complete. I made this, Stanley. Look at it. Gaze upon my work of art and
It's
feel
amazing.
ashamed at your own inadequacy. Ah, but you've only seen it from the outside. You've only gotten half the experience. Please, step inside and make yourself comfortable. Isn't it grand? Isn't it perfect? It could
amazing.
only be better if... Wait, that's it. We must rebuild it out of diamond.
Yes.
Diamond everything. Yes, yes, yes. Come along, Stanley. We have to go mining.
You haven't got a texture pack on
Oh
it, though.
my, it looks like it's going to get a bit dark. Have you brought a light?
No.
Oh, no, 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 no. This is far more open-ended than I had in mind. I'm looking for something more narrow and linear. Something that makes you feel utterly irrelevant. This won't do at all. 1 out of 5. Even the diamonds couldn't save this one. Okay, new game. Yes! I don't even know what this game is, but I love it. You, trapped in a glass box with no way out, listening to me talk. Oh, it's inspired. I couldn't have done it any better myself. What is this game even supposed to be? I can't figure it out. Okay, now I'm curious. Let's go find out what the hell this is.
This is why games are fun, because you just find stuff out.
Oh, it's a puzzle. Critical thinking, Stanley. Your forte.
Oh. Ugh. Oh. No. I pushed it into a corner. I shouldn't have. Oh, I can pick it up. Awesome.
Genius.
I know.
No, actually, you know what? I think that's plenty. I really don't care much to see you stumble through any more of these games, and I highly doubt you're any wiser for the experience. Which is why, rather than continue to waste my time, I'm just going to leave you here. You can pretend you've beaten the game if it makes it any richer for you, but as for me, I've had it.
do anything? Oh.
I wonder what he found. If what he wanted was to be the leading man in his own story, well, perhaps he's gotten it. Down in wherever he is right now. I wonder if he's happy with his choice, and if he's learned the heavy cost that comes with it. He'll understand soon what I was trying to tell him. He needs me. Someone who will wrap everything up at the end, to make sense out of the chaos and the fear and the confusion. That's who I am.
Okay.
That is what I mean to this world. Oh, yes. Yes, I'll be back. There's no other way. Once this ends, after it all comes to a close, then I'll be back.
Okay.
The end will be here soon. Very soon. I can wait.
There it goes. Okay.
Stanley had never seen the office this brightly lit. Was it a sign of something? He hoped it was. He hoped very much that it was.
Sounds like there's a fire.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well.
I need to go
Perhaps
through
he
the red
wanted
door.
to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Stanley felt lightheaded, butterflies in his stomach, giddy in a way he had never known before. Was it this room? A connection between the two? Could a man love a room? I mean, truly, truly, deeply, madly love. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been
Ready.
about nothing but you all this time.
Set.
There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley.
Go.
Someone... What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance. Now listen carefully, this is important.
Okay.
Stanley walked through the red door.
I'm gonna do it when there's big flashing lights on it.
Aha, perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door. I still don't think we're communicating properly.
that door.
Stanley walked through the red door.
Red.
Oh, thank God you are willing to listen to me.
Yep.
Do you see that I really have wanted you to be happy all this time?
But only when there's flashing
The
lights
problem is
involved.
all these choices. The two of us always trying to get somewhere that isn't here. Running and running and running, just the way you're doing right now. Don't you see that it's killing us, Stanley? I wanted to stop.
Circles.
We would both be so much happier if we just stopped. And I think I have a solution.
I stopped.
Here, let me show you.
Ah!
What do we want? What are we looking for?
Oh.
Here. Yes. Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah.
If we just stay right here, right in this moment with this place, Stanley, I think I feel happy. I actually feel happy.
Oh, I'm glad. Truly. It's very relaxing. So this is like the happy ending where we both get what we want. Oh, the stars are back. Oh, it's looping. What happens if I walk? I can't walk off. So, I was just wondering if that was like one of the options.
No, wait. Where are you going?
I finished looking at the pretty lights. I'm done, I want a coffee.
Oh no. Stay away from those stairs. If you hurt yourself, if you die, the game will reset. We'll lose all of this.
I don't think I'll hurt myself, I'll be fine.
Please, no, Stanley, let me stay here. Don't take this from me.
Oh. Oh no. Ah! I died.
Oh,
I'm alive!
thank God.
I just have broken
You
legs.
lived. You had me worried there for a moment. Now, can we please get back to the other room? No. No, no, what are you doing, Stanley? Please, I'm asking you not to take this away from me. I can't go back to what I was before. If you die, we'll both go back. Why are you doing this?
Oh, I feel bad for him. We're back!
There. See? This is what you want. This is where we can both be happy. We really can. If we stop moving, we just have to stop moving.
Well, then again.
Stanley, go back. There's nothing good that can come from this. Do you just not believe me? What can I say to convince you?
The problem is just standing there, nothing happens.
Stanley, let's go back to the other room. Can you do that for me?
Okay. Then I'm coming back here to jump again.
Yes. Perhaps you can. Perhaps you finally see what I'm talking about.
Ooh, relax.
I know you'll see. You'll see that we can't be happy if we leave this place. You can see that, can't you?
But...
No, perhaps not.
Is that P? I hope it's not P.
My God, is this really how much you dislike my game? That you'll throw yourself from this platform over and over to be rid of it? You are literally willing to kill yourself to keep me from being happy. Am I reading the situation correctly?
No. Just that when we're watching the pretty lights, nothing happens.
Or maybe you're just getting a kick out of it. I don't know anymore. I just wanted us to get along. But I guess that was too much to ask. It looks like you wanted to make a choice after all. Well, this one is yours. Do you actually want to stay alive? Or are you just teasing me?
Teasing. Ooh, look, pretty
I
lights.
wanted us to be happy here, Stanley. I really did. I wish I still thought that was possible.
Whee!
Is it over? It's going to restart, isn't it? I'm going back. Already this was uncomfortable, and Stanley decided that as soon as he found a new space he felt safe in, that he would never leave it again in his life.
Okay, so go out and then go back on track.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Yep.
The lounge was grand, majestic, perhaps too majestic. Like a combination of a much smaller version and a much larger version of this exact room. It all made Stanley uncomfortable, and he started to bleed a little. This made him smile. At last, proof that he was human. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
Whee!
But Stanley didn't want to go back to the office. He wanted to wander about and get even further off track.
Yep.
So now in order to get back, he needed to go, from here it's, left.
Left?
Oh, no, it's to the right. My mistake.
Okay.
No, not the right. Why would I have ever said it was to the right? What was I thinking? It's clearly... Oh dear, would you hold on for a minute?
It's gotta be this way, back where I came.
Now, let's see. We went down right, left, down, left, right. Yep, okay, yes. I've got it now. This story is absolutely, definitely this way.
Okay. Oh. So the truck. How do you get in there? This is creepy.
No. This isn't right at all. You're not supposed to be here yet. This is all a spoiler. Quick, Stanley, close your eyes.
Oh.
Okay. We just have to get back to, oh, who am I kidding? It's all rubbish now. The whole story completely unusable. How about, rather than waste my time trying to salvage this nonsense, we'll just restart the game from the beginning. And this time, suppose we don't wander so far off track,
Aww.
Okay, from the top.
Okay. Right. This time,
All of his co-workers were gone.
I think I
What could it mean?
everything.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
I think I've done everything else that I possibly can.
When Stanley... Wait.
Huh?
Wait, what?
What?
No, I restarted. I swear, I definitely restarted the game over, completely fresh.
No, you didn't.
Everything should be... Oh, did something change? Stanley, did you change anything when we were back in that room with all the monitors? Did you move the story somewhere or... Hold on. Why am I asking you? I'm the one who wrote the story.
Yeah.
It was right here just a minute ago. I know for sure that it's here somewhere. Okay,
You are
then.
really unorganized.
It's an adventure. Come, Stanley. Let's find the story.
But there's so many doors.
I'll say it. This is the worst adventure I've ever been on. I can promise you there definitely was a story here before. Do we need to restart the game again? Well, I find it unlikely that we'll ever progress by starting over and over again, but it's got to be better than this.
What's wrong with this?
Okay, let's give
I'm
it a
kind of
shot.
enjoying
Why
it.
not?
It's like Doom without any enemies. And more officer.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. Okay, yep, it's worse. I might be remembering this wrong. It's possible the story is back where we just came from. Why don't we go back the other direction and see if we missed anything?
The door's closed. Oh, there we go. This is the opener of doors. Did we miss anything?
Aha!
Aha!
I
A
knew
blue
we'd
room.
miss something. The story. Here it comes. No, wait. Never mind. Not the story. Okay, let's head back the other way and retrace our steps.
Okay. Oh! Mindfuck.
Now this... Well, I'll be honest. I don't recognize this place at all. Is this the story? I don't think so. I can't quite recall, but I believe my story took place in an office building. Is that correct? Do you remember, Stanley? Well, do you know what? Since I've completely forgotten what we were supposed to be doing, how about this? You win! Congratulations! I know you put in a lot of hard work, and it really paid off, so good job.
Yay!
Oh, no. No, I don't feel right about this at all.
I do.
We
Let's go
both
with
know
it.
you didn't put in any actual work for that win.
I did.
Some people win fair and square, and this was
You
not
lie.
one of those situations. Okay? I'm getting weirded out by whatever this place is. I don't care what might happen this time. I have to restart.
No.
All right, I've got a solution. This
Right.
time, to make sure we don't get lost, I've employed the help of the Stanley Parable Adventure Line.
Oh.
Just follow the line. How simple is that?
That's amazing. But. Okay.
No, I'm down. We're leaving it up to the line from now on.
Okay. Spell sport. Come on, line. It's all riding on you. Goes
You
round
see,
the boxes.
the line knows where the story is. It's over in this direction. Onward, Stanley,
Around
to
the
destiny.
boxes and
Though, here's a thought. Wouldn't wherever we end up be our destination, even if there's no story there? Or to put it another way, is the story of no destination still a story? Simply by the act of moving forward, are we implying a journey such that a destination is inevitably conjured into being via the very manifestation of the nature of life itself? Okay, Stanley, I need to follow this train of thought for a minute. Just stick with me. Now, we
Okay.
can both agree that the nature of existence is in fact a byproduct of one's subjective experience of that existence, right?
yes.
Okay. Now, if my experience of your existence rests inside of your subjective experience of this office, is this office in fact the skeleton of my own relative experiential mental subjective construct? Whoa. Hang on. That got a bit weird back there. Well, I'd like to apologize. Not sure where I was going with all that.
Me either.
You know what? I think what we need right now is a bit of music to lighten the mood.
Oh, okay. Spoil sport. Nine, 8, 7, 6, 38. Hold the line as best you can.
Cut the music.
Oh.
Go back and look at that fern. Stanley, this fern will be very important later in the story.
Right.
Make sure you study it closely and remember it carefully.
Okay.
You won't want to miss anything.
Right. Yes. Right. Studied. Let's go. Put the music back on. Da 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 da.
Wait, what? we're back at the office? No. Line, you do know we're looking for the Stanley Parable, right?
Yep.
The story? Is any of this ringing a bell?
Hang on. There was another line there. Oh, but that goes. Oh. So then we went through there, and now we've got to go... Which way are we going? This way. Wow, the office building is big. Oh, wait. I'm lost. Help! Right, okay. Lost the phone. Yay!
Oh, no, not again. Line, how could you have done this to us? And after we trusted you, after everything we've been through, you... Oh, I can't take this anymore. To hell with it. Restart. You know what, Stanley? I say forget the adventure line. What's it ever done for us? We're intelligent people, right? Why can't we make up our own story? Something exciting, daring, mysterious. Ooh, this all sounds perfectly doable. Why don't we simply start wandering in, well, I don't know. How about this direction?
Okay.
Now, yes, this is exciting. Just me and Stanley forging a new path, a new story. Well, it could be anything. What do you want our story to be?
I want
Go
it
wild.
to involve like
Use
dragons
your
and
imagination.
unicorns
Whatever
and,
it might be, Stanley.
and beef burgers.
I'm ready for it. Oh, no, not you again. Stanley, I'd also like to veto the line from having any role in our awesome new story.
Okay.
No lines or monitor rooms.
No.
Just don't acknowledge it, and we should be fine.
Yeah, I'll pretend it's not there. Oh. It's escaping through the ceiling tile.
Ah, a choice. We get to make a decision.
Yay!
From here, the story is in our control. How important we mustn't squander the opportunity. In fact, I believe I need a minute to think here. Just walk in circles for a minute. Okay, so I know that each door has to lead somewhere, which means that somewhere, the place where we're trying to go, there must be a reverse door that leads here. And that in turn means that our destination corresponds with the counter-inverted reverse door's origin. So starting from the right, let us ask, will taking the right door lead us to where we're going? And since the answer is clearly yes, then by all accounts, the door on the right is the correct one. Another victory for logic. Come, Stanley, our destiny awaits. Oh, hold up, what's this? The confusion ending. You're telling me that's what this is? It's all one giant ending? And we're supposed to restart the game, what, eight times? That's really how all this goes? It's all determined? So now, according to the schedule, I restart again. Then what? Am I just supposed to forget? Well, what if I don't want to forget? My mind goes blank simply because it's written here on this thing, wall. Well, who consulted me? Why don't I get to decide? Why don't I get a say in all of this? Is it really... No, it can't be. I don't want it to be. I don't want the game to keep restarting. I don't want to forget what's going on. I don't want to be trapped like this. I won't restart the game. I won't do it. I won't do it. I won't do it.
Okay.
And the timer stopped? Does that mean, did we do it? Did we break the cycle? The,
What?
whatever it is that made this schedule? how would we even know? Will someone come for us? Will something happen?
Maybe. Things normally happen in
So-
games.
Okay. I guess now we just wait. You
Okay.
know, I suppose in some way that this is a kind of story, wouldn't you agree?
Oh yeah.
I'm not quite sure if we're in the destination or the journey, though they're always saying that life is about the journey
I think this
and
is
not
part
the
of the journey.
destination. So I hope that's where we are right now. We'll find out, won't we? Eventually. Well, in the meantime, if you do happen to have a...
What the hell? That was weird.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
I don't get what the crouching thing's about.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Need to go to the mind control room next.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life.
And that there's
What could it
wallpaper above the
mean?
fire.
Stanley wondered aloud to nobody. He began wildly tearing through papers on the boss's desk, pulling books off the shelf,
Yeah.
looking behind paintings, desperate for clues to his situation. But his attention was caught by a keypad behind the boss's desk. What could its purpose be? In fact, this keypad guarded the terrible secret that lay buried below his feet. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number,
That I've forgotten.
2845.
That's it.
But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
2, 8, 4, 5.
Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck.
Of course I did.
Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway. Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Yup. Because I did the escape one. Big light bulb. Bonk.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself.
Jeremy Kyle shows.
Did he have the strength to find out?
Cameras. Lights. Camera.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their
An
true
action
nature
button.
revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Some of them are stairwells, though. I wonder what's in the stairwells. Achoo. Excuse me.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never.
Never.
It was unthinkable.
Yeah.
Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Can I press that? No. Oh. Ooh. So many buttons. Oh. 5.
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for. Oh, Stanley, you didn't just activate the controls, did you?
Yep.
After they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself. Is
Yes.
that what you wanted?
Absolutely.
Control? Oh, Stanley, I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do. You were supposed to let it go, turn the controls off, and leave. If you want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do much better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system. In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are set to explode, eliminating the entire complex. How long until detonation then? Let's say, 2 minutes. Now this is making things a little more fun, isn't it, Stanley? It's your time to shine. You are the star. It's your story now. Shape it to your heart's desires.
I don't know what to
Oh,
press.
this is much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the bomb goes off. But what precious moments each one
I
of
don't
them
know
is.
which one it is.
More time to talk about you, about me, where we're going, what all this means. I barely know where to start. What's that? You'd like to know where your co-workers are? A moment of solace before you're obliterated?
Yeah.
All right, I'm in a good mood. You're gonna die anyway. I'll tell you exactly what happened to them. I erased them.
What?
I turned off the machine. I set you free. Of course, that was merely in this instance of the story. Sometimes when I tell it, I simply let you sit there in your office forever, pushing buttons endlessly and then
Right.
dying alone. Other times, I let the office sink into the ground, swallowing everyone inside, or I let it burn to a crisp. I have to say this, though, this version of events has been rather amusing. Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite rich. I almost hate to see it go. but I'm sure whatever I come up with on the next go around will be
What?
even better.
I don't know
My
what to
goodness, only 34 seconds left. But I'm enjoying this so much. You know what? To hell with it. I'm going to put some extra time on the clock, why not? These are precious additional seconds, Stanley. Time doesn't grow on trees. Oh dear me, what's the matter, Stanley? Is it that you have no idea where you're going or what you're supposed to be doing right now? Or did you just assume when you saw that timer that something in this room was capable of turning it off? I mean, look at you. Running from button to button, screen to screen, clicking on every little thing in this room. These numbered buttons, no, these colored ones. Or maybe this big red button, or this door. Everything, anything, something here will save me. Why would you think that, Stanley? That this video game can be beaten? Won? Solved? Do you have any idea what your purpose in this place is? Stanley, you're in for quite a disappointment. But here's a spoiler for you. That timer isn't a catalyst to keep the action moving along. It's just seconds ticking away to your death. You're only still playing instead of watching a cutscene because I want to watch you for every moment that you're powerless. To see you made
that's
humble.
harsh.
This is not a challenge. It's a tragedy. You wanted to control this world, that's fine. But I'm going to destroy it first, so you can't. Take a look at the clock, Stanley. That's 30 seconds you have left to struggle. 30 seconds until a big boom and then nothing. No ending here. Just
Can't really
you
not
being
do
blown
anything?
to pieces. Will you cling desperately to your frail life? Or will you let it go peacefully? Another choice. Make it count. Or don't. It's all the same to me. All a part of the joke. And believe me, I will be laughing at every second of your inevitable life from the moment we fade in until the moment I say, happily ever up.
Oh! My pad's still shaking. Woo! It's going mental. Oh. Is there any way to, like...
All of his co-workers were gone.
I'll have to
What
check
could
that
it
out.
mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
I'm gonna Google that and see if there's, whether you can press buttons, whether it is just all meaningless to confuse you. This is...
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
That's different.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. The moment he entered his manager's office, Stanley froze in his tracks. Not a living soul anywhere. Could he really be all alone? This was too much for Stanley to take. Too much for any man to take. He fell to his knees, bursting into half moans, half sobs, the guttural retching of life from a man denied any hope, any reason to keep going. Here on the floor, he lay prone, paralyzed by fear for nearly a full hour. But when at last he began to move about and survey the situation, he found a keypad behind the boss's desk. What could it mean? Was it a sign of hope for Stanley's future? Alas, it was not. For although this keypad guarded the terrible secret of Stanley's past, it had been assigned a 4-digit code so devious and so random that no man could ever hope to guess it. 2845. Statistically, nearly impossible to guess blindly, ever.
Just had a quick look on the internet, and
Yet
there is
incredibly,
no way
by simply
out of
pushing
that. It is-
random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to
is
input the
the ending
correct
as it is.
code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
reading a thing where people are saying that it's so achievable. I wonder.
Stanley walked straight
bet
ahead
it's
through the
not.
large door that read Mind Control
That
Facility.
is an answer.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out? Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing. This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
Right, some guy said that he went through the audio files. There is nothing to support.
No. He
Not getting past
refused to
that bit.
believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world?
Guess it's
But
just
here
very
was the
deep
proof.
inside.
The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all. Blackness
Yep.
and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes. He had won. He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
but.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Layouts.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
I noticed that the path had changed as well.
And here it was, the lounge. What a room, Stanley thought to himself. What a room, what a room, what a room. This is what Stanley thought. What a room. What a room, what a room. What a room. Va-va-voom. What a room.
So this is the end
But
of it.
eager to get back to business,
I've
Stanley
done
took the
everything
first
that I can
open
think
door
of.
on his left.
No. Oh. I think that's going to be the end. Unless I can find more endings, but that's all I can think of for now. But I really enjoyed that. It was really silly.